It's got a lot of strings and music, but it's also kind of like a dark kind of, I can't explain it, but I think you'll like it. But anyway, so now you you did this with the movie. Now how did you get into the writing aspect? You went into the book. That's your first book, right?
Yeah, Neverlasting is my first book. However, I've been writing probably since I was 8 years old, 7 years old.
Wow.
In fact, I still have a book of my early writings from about that time. So I've been writing my entire life. That was probably, other than art, because I grew up very much supported by my family, who encouraged. I painted, I sculpted, I drew. In fact, had I pursued what I was supposed to after high school, I was accepted to the Academy of Art in San Francisco and the Art Institute in Pittsburgh, but I decided to quit school early and fell in love with music and, wanted to be in the band thing and pretty much abandoned art for a while. But as far as the writing goes, I've been writing my entire life. And obviously being in bands, aside from being a keyboardist, I was always the lead vocalist in 98% of every band that I was ever in. So I got to apply my lyrical skills, my writing skills to the lyrics. And, it was just natural because I also write all the screenplays for my films. So they kind of just go hand in hand together.
Right, and you're a writer. You have to send me one of your songs one day. Just so I promise I won't, let it out everywhere. I just want to hear it. I want to listen to it.
Oh, there's so much from the past. Everything that I used to do was nothing that I like. I think as everything catches up and becomes more popular, there's a lot of things that I used to love and do that have now become so trendy that I've actually turned my back on everything. Like I used to love when I was younger. I used to love industrial music, and I can't stand it now. I played keyboard in an industrial band. I can't stand it. Probably one of my first real bands was like a post-punk death rock type band, which I still do like a lot of the early Batcave music from the 80s, Bauhaus and Sisters of Mercy and Alien Sex Fiend and stuff like that, but it's not something that I really put on anymore at all. Now I guess I'm just old and cranky and I hate everything because it's just become, the thing is back in the day prior to internet, you used to rely on fanzines and, magazines and things that were tangible to find your sources from. And when you found a band that you really loved, a lot of the times for people like us, those bands were obscure and you were like the only person in the city that knew of this band. Or you might find 3 or 4 others that knew of this particular band. And nowadays, everything's out there. Bands that were once sacred and obscure are now commercialized. And, I can't even tell you the countless punk bands that I used to love as a child that I now turn on. It's like, oh, really? They're using a Sid Vicious song in a Nike's commercial. Or they're using a
right.
song on another commercial. Or a Clash song, in a Levi Jeans commercial. So, we were just talking about this the other day. I said, 20 years ago, you saw a girl in an Evil Dead t-shirt and you worshipped her like a goddess. She was like this unicorn that, oh my gosh, there's a girl in an Evil Dead t-shirt. I want to marry her on the spot. Nowadays, you leave your house, you run into 15 girls that are wearing Evil Dead t-shirts or zombie. Everything's just so saturated. And I think that the more our society becomes saturated with, zombies used to be my favorite genre. Now I can't stand zombies.
Yeah.
I won't watch another zombie film.
I don't blame you. I think that's definitely oversaturated. I'm just and you're absolutely right, because my kids too.
Zombie shower curtain or buy your zombie hand mitts at Walmart. I think that's the point where it's okay, enough's enough already. I'm from Pittsburgh, home of George Romero, Night of the Living Dead, and a lot of the people that were involved with Night of the Living Dead still live in Pittsburgh, so I had the opportunity to get to know them and become friends with a handful of them. But with that said, after my first short film, Samhain Night Feast, that was pre-Walking Dead. It was a zombie film, but it was before The Walking Dead. And then I followed that up with another zombie film, Caustic Zombies, which, again, happened just before The Walking Dead. And people were calling me the next George Romero. And then as soon as The Walking Dead hit and everything blew up and everything was everything zombie apocalypse with stickers on everyone's cars and T-shirts, I said, you know what, I'm done. Never doing another zombie film as long as I live.
I can't.
Much.
Yeah, I actually went to someone's house and they showed me a backpack and I'm like, what is that? Well, when the zombies come, and I'm like, what? He's like, this is all my stuff. So when the zombies come, I'm like, what kind of drugs are you doing?
You know what? Like, I'm so glad that you say that, because I was actually talking to a fellow author friend of mine the other day, and she had mentioned about an interview that she was on, which this has happened to me numerous times, where during interviews, the interviewer would ask me, so Johnny, what would you do during the zombie apocalypse? And at one particular interview, which I can't recall at this point in time which show it was, but I was just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Pardon my language.
No, that's fine.
I'm like, seriously, like, this is the most ridiculous question that I have ever heard in my life. It's something I think that interviewers ask when they're at a loss for a more intelligent question. Seriously, I really hope that nobody believes the zombie apocalypse is actually going to happen. But
right, and that was my thing that day in the house, and the funniest part about it, Johnny, is they have a meeting once a week, and it's a group of people, and they really think this thing is gonna happen, and I didn't know what to say. I just was. I was
come on, during the 80s, we all knew those kids. There was a few of them. They gathered every week and played Dungeons and Dragons. And elves and wizards were real. It's like, come on, seriously.
I was like, okay, y'all do your thing, and they're like, well, don't you want to be a part of it? And I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
So, like, y'all get ready for your zombie thing. Like, have a good night, and I'm gonna go now. I really couldn't believe they were that serious about it, and I was like, wow. Like, it just, I don't know, that was just something. So your journey travels from the movies. I mean, your whole life is just fascinating. You need to write an autobiography, actually. And
I've considered that.
Yeah, you need to, because it's. I would read it. I would definitely read it. Now, you started there. Okay, you went there. Now, the whole Halloween thing, and I know that like you said, it's not so much the blood and the gore. I have to go into this because I also seen where you had it was, I want to say, glasses, and they were from Lindsay Lowe. And they had like the Ouija board around the frames and everything. You gotten a gift from her. Now, do you play any part into that kind of, like, I don't consider that horror. I consider it like,
Oh no, I'm very supernatural.
Okay, that's what I've
actually been on haunted lockdowns with professional paranormal teams in the past. I've spent a night in the Moundsville Penitentiary in West Virginia. Love supernatural. I've seen numerous ghosts in my life. I've had some very bizarre and unexplainable. I'm very scientific about things, and a lot of skeptics want to immediately discredit but I'm the same way. I look for the rationale and the scientific reasonings first before I jump to any conclusions with the paranormal. But I'm a huge believer in the paranormal, and I've definitely had a few experiences with ghosts that I will defend till my grave.
Right. So basically, you do believe in spirits, and
Oh, most certainly.
Okay, thank you. Because I've had an experience in my life that I'll take to my grave too, and some people you kind of tell, there's some people that believe, and some people are just like think I'm crazy, and I know I'm not crazy, so. I was just curious, and when I seen that, and I won't mess with a Ouija board. I know people that have, but I won't mess with it because they don't take it serious. They think it's all a game, and I'm like, y'all crazy, like that's real. It's not something to play with.
Right. And the thing, and before I forget, this is actually a good segue into some behind-the-scenes knowledge of my upcoming film, Noctambulist. We were actually, as I mentioned, it's a 1920s black and white psychological thriller, and the main character in the story, Zella, she's actually haunted in the movie by the ghost of her sister who passed away when they were very young. Anyway, with that being said, the home that we were filming that was Zella's home in the film, the actual house in which we were filming in was haunted. And it's owned by a lovely couple and great friends of mine, Bonnie, Tim Shipley Pill, and Steve Summerlin own the home. They warned me in advance prior to shooting. They said, we have to tell you right now, our house is haunted. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. Their house was built in the either very late 1800s or right at the turn of the 1900s. So a very old house with a lot of ancient history. So they informed me up front the house was haunted. I thought, that's great. Maybe we'll get something on film. Maybe we won't. But I had two experiences with the paranormal while filming Noctambulist. Unfortunately, we didn't get anything on film that's in the film, but I do actually have photographs. In the one particular scene I was filming, the lady who owns the house was standing behind me watching the film take place, and just as I was about ready to yell roll, she said, Johnny, there's a ghost right beside you. And I was like, seriously? And at that exact moment, my whole body had, even before she said it, I had chills all over my body, my hairs were standing on end, and I didn't think much of it, because our one actor, Tim Scott, who plays Dr. Krause in the film, he has a bad heart, so he's only running on about 30% of his heart, which causes him to sweat profusely.
Oh, wow.
So because of that, we had a fan on. So the fact that I was cold, and I'm usually always cold, I didn't think anything of it until Bonnie said, Johnny, there's a ghost right beside you. Just as she said that, she grabbed her camera, started snapping off photos. You could see the ghost come up over my left shoulder. Then in the next picture, the ghost is up above my head. And then the next picture, it's to the right of my body. And then the next picture, it's out of frame and there's nothing there again.
Wow.
So that was one of the crazy stories. The other one, we don't have any photographic proof of, but we had just got done filming a scene, and I had put my camera in the bedroom, and no one was in the bedroom. I know this to be a fact because there was only one entrance to the bedroom, and I was standing directly outside of it. So I put the camera in the center of the bed. No one else was in there. The next thing you know, we hear a loud smash. The camera somehow flew off from the center of the bed and smashed to the floor.
Yeah, okay.
And we all kind of looked at one another like, what in the hell is going on here? And I started accusing people. I'm like, did somebody walk in there? Like, you got to be careful. And they're like, how? How do we walk in? Like, you're standing right in front of the doorway. There's nobody in there. I'm like, well, how did the camera fly? And I'm not talking about a little bed. This is at least a queen-size bed. You have a camera sitting in the center of the bed. I don't understand how it just picks up and flies off and smashes to the floor. So that was another odd occurrence at that house.
Yeah, that's definitely something. So the house where it was haunted, they were probably upset that you were all filming there. No, I'm not kidding. But see, that's what I'm saying. And a lot of people, they laugh at it, and I'm like, okay, well, you can believe in zombies, but you can't believe in supernatural. Okay. Right. So, I'm sorry, but, the spiritual world and things like that are a lot more realer than your zombie thing that you're talking about. So.
Exactly.
That's crazy. But okay, so now this movie, I think I've seen the images actually of the movie on your Facebook, I believe, the black and white cover, or maybe it's the filming part of it. It's got a girl on the front.
Yeah, it could be the cover. It could be one of the behind the scenes pictures that I've linked.
Yeah, that you have linked on there. All right, now so we're gonna go back into now. I know you do some vintage modeling too, right?
I do.
Now, is that why you get all these tattoos?
Pardon me?
Is that why you have all the tattoos?
No. I've had tattoos most of my adult life. I don't do just vintage modeling. I do a lot of alternative tattoo modeling and so forth. But yeah, that's actually my love for tattoos happened when I was probably 5 or 6 years old, again, going back to my childhood. And I was fortunate to the fact that I had a very cool family. And my father wasn't listening to what other kids' parents were listening to at the time. My parents had me young. My dad was only 18 when I was born. My mother was 17 when I was born. So my dad was listening to a lot of punk rock that was coming out, a lot of post-punk. So he was listening to bands like The Clash and the New York Dolls and the Ramones and early Elvis Costello and bands like Devo and the Talking Heads. So, and he liked a lot of rockabilly, which actually is one of my preferred musical styles. But he had a Stray Cats album, and it was built for speed. It was probably around 1980 or 1981, so I would have been 5, 6 years old at the time. I remember looking at the back of the Stray Cats album cover, and I mean, there's 3 cool greaser guys standing in front of these classic cars, and the artwork on the back of it was artwork of pinup girls.